announcement.
Hey. We are live at the first DAP network, whatever you want to call this. I don't know. I titled it DAP Live, so I guess that's what we're going to call it for now. I have Fantasy Timeline, 1A host, 1B host. I'll let you decide on your own of the Fantasy Timeline. Bill McCarthy at Super Duper Flex. Say hi.
Hello.
Oh, I'm Russ. I'm at Dynasty House. You know that. I think I said Ow House. I left the T out of their Out's House. That's my name.
Ow.
I don't know, man. Like we're live. I'm nervous. I'm not used to doing live. Like my version of live is in front of like the 7 people that have the link to watch the stream we do. This is whoever the hell feels like clicking on it or whoever does anything. So I'm flustered, let's say. And just seeing your beautiful face this day has me a little flustered in the first place. So.
Oh, you're too kind.
So I figured we have this platform with the DAP network, and my guy over here, Bill and Josh, are the only ones really taking advantage of it. So I think this is something we're going to try and do more often, whether we can, whether we can't. I guess we'll figure that out as we go along. But it's something that we can do as pretty much an exclusive for the people that are subscribed to the YouTube, subscribed to the podcast stream, anything like that. So this isn't going to end up on the Trade Addicts stream, which goes everywhere else. This is just going to be on the DAP network stuff. So first thing I want to talk about is Deebo Samuel. Deebo broke his foot. I think it was a Jones fracture, which I'll say out loud, though I have no idea what it really means. And so clearly I'm not going to talk much about the injury itself. I've seen a few of our fantasy football Twitter doctors saying it's like a 10-ish week recovery. Season starts in 12. So we shouldn't be terrified. Excuse me. We shouldn't be terrified of Deebo. But man, foot injuries scare me in the first place. It usually takes about a year to get right. And while I wouldn't call Deebo a sell, because this is probably his low point of value right after he gets hurt, especially with no other detail besides it happened. I actually have sent out 2 trade offers with Deebo on my team. And since I was just going to start talking about them randomly, but now that Bill's here, I'm going to ask him what he thinks about it. This is in the 12 Olympians League run by new PFF employee, Jesse Reeves. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So this is a 12-team 0.5 PPR Superflex League. I sent out 2 offers. Both of them are Deebo and a 21-second for... I'll just give you both of them. One is TJ Hawkinson and a first, and the other one is Denzel Mims and a first. And this is a 0.5 tight end premium. So it's a full PPR for tight ends. Let me just put it this way. I threw out in the chat saying, anybody want Deebo? I'm willing to sell him at a decent price just because I'm bored. This team is not great. It's not terrible. I had maybe 2 or 3 first-round picks this year. I already have 2 for next year. Not mine, because I was dumb and traded it away for some reason, even though I'm not ready to compete. And so I'm still trying to reload a little bit. Given what you know of Deebo's value in the first place, what had happened to it now, what do you think of these 2 trade offers?
I like the Hawkinson trade, I think, more than the Mims trade. But, I mean... I think you're more likely to be able to get the Mims trade done. I'm not really sure how much Deebo's value's dropped. I haven't really seen many trades since this has happened. So I'm not overly concerned about him long term, but there is the concern still. I'm kind of tangenting off of your trades and more just talking about Deebo, but from what I had read, it's like a 10 to 12 week issue. So yeah, like you said, but then there's also like up to a 20% chance that he may require surgery, which would put him out longer. So there is that risk involved. With the 1 extra PPR for Hawk, I mean, I think that's a pretty good price if you can get it. But I probably wouldn't pay that. I wouldn't pay Hawk and a first for Deebo in a second right now. I almost think that Hawk and Debo may be similarly valued or a lot closer than what you're asking. But the other one I would do for sure.
Yeah, the Hawk one was more because he's like I said, I threw out into the chat anyone interested, and he said me, and I wasn't going to be that guy that then expects them to send me an offer, so I just sent something out.
Sure.
And he has a lot of higher level wide receivers than I kind of want to pay for right now. You know, he has Calvin Ridley, but this is Debro, this is Derek, who is maybe the one person that may like Calvin Ridley more than I do. So I've given up. I've tried ever since I got into this league, which was only a couple of months ago. Like once a week, I would send him an offer, and it wasn't happening. So I've completely just stepped off of that. So I tried to find someone a little lower than that. Well, much lower than that. And someone that was kind of, like you said, they're kind of similar in value, Debo and Hawk, with that 0.5 extra PPR. And I know you see a first, but also the reason I like these kind of trades is because really, honestly, we're talking about a couple of picks in between.
Okay.
We have no real idea where that first, where that second are, but there's a chance they could literally be a pick or two apart. It's just the psychology of seeing that one and seeing that two, or they could be 12 or more picks apart. We have absolutely no, well, I guess they can't be 12 because they're not the same team going back and forth. But these are the kinds of moves I love doing on teams that are not competing, pretty much. It's gaining that little extra steps of value wherever you can. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to do with this. I have a lot of decent players on this team. So maybe not this year, but next year, I think I'll be competing. So that's why let me just say that's why I talked myself into sending my first, because the person wanted my first because they saw I was rebuilding. But like, I have Gurley, I have Juju, who, while is a young wide receiver, should produce. I have a couple of very good pieces where I don't think I'm coming in last place. I don't think I'm going to be the 101 at all.
Sure.
So sending out my first, also getting better scorers coming back at me, will make my team better, hence making my pick worse. So that's why all of that made sense to me. So that's what all came around. But now this is sort of hedging my bets a little, because I think Hawk is going to score points. I think Mims in the long run is going to be the wide receiver to own in the Jets. So that is giving me players that A, might score now, B, might score in a year. Also giving me those few picks higher that could equal, I mean, who the hell knows at this point what it's going to equal, and we always say next year is great, but if this draft class comes out the way it's supposed to, we're looking at 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are first round worthy, 4 or 5 wide receivers, and 2 running backs off the top of my head. So, I mean, we're looking at a very strong first round. Maybe not all the 2020 class was, because I know there's a lot of arguments that next year is always better. But I think this is going to be a very strong first class. So moving those couple of picks up, I think, is a good move for a team in the position I am, because
I agree.
When you're first rebuilding, you want lots of picks. When you don't always want that. Sooner or later, you want to compete, and you do that by getting the best players, which means sooner or later, I want fewer picks that are better. And that's kind of where I'm aiming with this one. So I would be happy if either of these came through accepted.
Sure.
If I have time before, happy Father's Day, everyone out there, all those fathers out there. If before Father's Day festivities begin today, I might just honestly send to every single other team, because this isn't a trade, I should say, that is geared towards a rebuilder or a competing team. Nice. Like this, I think this trade works both ways, but we've been droning on for about 10 minutes about Debo trades, and that's not super exciting. But hopefully there was some interesting stuff in all of that. I'm glad you came on, because otherwise this was going to be me droning on about a trade offer I received and stuff I've already said out loud in my head. So I want you to help me with this one.
Okay.
This is Trade Addict scoring. The trade is Jerry Jeudy and Jarvis Landry for Mike Evans and Damian Harris.
So Jerry Jeudy and Jarvis for Mike Evans and Damian Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Harris is a very minor part of that. So it's basically, at least in my eyes, Mike Evans for Jarvis and Jeudy. I think that I'm leaning the Mike Evans side. I know Jarvis is traditionally undervalued, but his hip issue concerns me, and I'm not sure we're going to be seeing a ton of. I guess it kind of depends also on like if you don't want the points, it might make sense going the Judy Jarvis side, because you're not going to get points, and that might help you if you're in a rebuild. But I mean, if I'm contending or I think I have a chance, I'm going the other route and taking the Mike Evans side, I think. But value-wise, I bet it's the Judy side.
Okay, so, well, first of all, this is the non-point scoring season, so value does matter more to me than anything else. Jarvis's value does scare me. With everything you just said, he always seems to be underrated, but now it's even pushed even further down because of this hip thing, which came kind of out of nowhere, really.
Yeah.
I remember at first, I had no idea what people were talking about when they were talking about this surgery, this injury. When I was trying to trade Jarvis, like, oh, of course you try and trade him now. I'm like, wait, why? What did I miss? And clearly I missed something huge. But okay, so let's get more into specifics about this trade. I would be trading away Mike Evans and receiving Judy and Jarvis, and I am not, in fact, competing. The issue is this team was just in a dispersal, and I don't have my first. So I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't have any of my picks.
Yeah,
so it doesn't really matter if I score points or not this year. So knowing that now, how do you feel about this?
I mean, I think it boils down to like how much you like Jerry Jeudy. I just lump him in with most of the other like rookie wide receivers coming out. Like, you know, I don't rank him any higher than Justin Jefferson or Jalen Reagor, or CeeDee Lamb's the only guy that I have like in a tier above him. So like that is my concern. Like I'm still on the Mike Evans side personally. Just because I feel like he is always grossly underrated every year, and like all he does is score 11, 12 or get 1,100, 1,200 yards, you know, scores close to 8 touchdowns or more. And every year we think he's going to fall off, and then he doesn't. And I'm not really concerned about Tom Brady being there. So Mike Evans is hard to move in the off season because of that. And it's just, for me, it's smarter to hold and wait till the season starts and he's producing again, and then being able to move him for more of a peak value personally. So I'm still on Mike Evans just because I'm not a Jerry Jeudy guy. If I was, obviously the answer would be different.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of with you with Jerry Jeudy. I like the idea of Jeudy. I know we're not supposed to harp on landing spot too much, but man, it's so crowded in Denver on a team that we don't know is going to pass that much. So I know we freaked out with AJ Brown, and that's the one thing we always go back to. Well, AJ Brown and Jerry Jeudy may have been some people's wide receiver one at some point, but man, I don't know. Like, I love Calvin Ridley. I am not delirious in the idea that he will surpass Julio Jones while Julio is still Julio.
Yeah.
Like maybe in 2-3 years when Julio's a broken down version of himself, maybe. But I mean, Julio's the one. And I think it's the same way with Sutton. I am a big Sutton fan. I agree. Pretty much always a fan of that guy, especially the second I saw that man play live. I saw him play against the Jets, and he just was a man amongst children.
Sure.
Like, he made this catch in the end zone over two defenders, and it looked like it was effortless.
And he's still learning the position, and that's the crazy thing because he's only played wide receiver for like 5 years. So, like, that's the insane part of it.
Yeah, like he came out of that draft and everyone was like, oh, he's raw. He's going to take time. And then I think the worst thing to happen to him was having a decent rookie year.
Sure.
Because everyone expected a little too much after that. Completely forgetting the fact that he, like you said, he's learning. So he can get better.
So yeah, he's doing this all off of just pure athleticism. Yeah. And that's it. Yep. But and like just going back to Ridley, I mean, that's kind of how I see Jeudy. Like that's how I like see where his role will be. He's going to be that high end wide receiver 2 guy. And, you know, that's not terrible. But Mike Evans is an alpha wide receiver. And, if you need depth, if it's a start 12 league or something like that, I get making that move. If it's, but if it's 10 or less, just a normal setup, it's hard for me to move Mike Evans for that. But, I'm not sure that offense is going to be that prolific, to be honest with you. And they're going to want to run the ball, and they're going to want to use those running backs, and that's going to be a big part of that offense. And I just don't see the volume being there to support an up and coming elite, in some people's eyes, tight end plus an up and coming wide receiver 1 plus, a guy that we think can be a high end wide receiver 2. So that's a lot for what little volume I expect.
Yeah, I do have a little faith in the offense. It's funny, like you say the name Pat Shurmur, and everyone like winces a little bit because the thing they have in their memory is him being the head coach and being very bad at it.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of these offensive coordinators are very good at their job, and that's why they get head coach jobs. Sometimes they're just not meant for it, and that's the unfortunate truth. Like, we forget that Jason Garrett got his head coaching job because at the time, Jerry Jones made him the highest paid offensive coordinator because so many people wanted him as their head coach.
Yep.
Like, we forget that because he was so mediocre to bad as a head coach, but he was very good at his job when he had it. So I think I have faith in the offense. I think it will do well. I don't know necessarily about volume, but my hope is he will do pretty much. Shurmur could do what he did to Drew Lock, what he did to Daniel Jones. Because again, Daniel Jones, nobody thought he was going to be great.
Well, and Case Keenum before that.
Right. So like like when Greg Roman came to Baltimore for Lamar Jackson, everyone was flipping out because of what he can do for styles of quarterbacks. And Pat Shurmur showed he can do things for, okay quarterbacks to make them better than okay. I'm not I'm not on the Stompy level of saying that Drew Lock is the next second-year breakout. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be better. And that's honestly all I really need for this. Because if there's like a decent level of efficiency, I think these guys can all do well. Just, yes, their ceiling is absolutely capped because they don't have, they won't have the passing numbers of the Falcons or the Chiefs or something like that.
Right. And I think that it's very important is what like Fangio wants to do, right? Because he's like a running back guy. He's like an offensive line guy. He's a guy that just wants to run. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of like what's coming from the top. Is he going to be like, all right, go ahead and run your offense, Pat, I'm going to let you go with it, and I'm just going to make some big decisions when it matters? Or is he going to be like, okay, this is my mandate. This is how I want the team to play. And, we won't know that, but there's just a lot of risk in that offense, in my opinion, that unless it's somebody I truly believe in, I guess, which is Cortland Sutton right now. And he might be the buy, to be honest with you there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's just all a matter of who's going to be able to get enough targets. And I just don't know that answer.
Okay, so let's go back to the trade on hand.
Yep.
Let's bring in a method, a trick, a move, or whatever we were talking about before. Mm-hmm. What do you think if it turned into Jerry, Judy, Jarvis Landry? That's too many J's. Judy, Landry, and a second for Mike Evans, Damian Harris, and a third. So it's putting a little extra
juice, yeah.
Juice, Landry. Nice. Would that be enough to make you? Because again, this is a team that is rebuilding a bit. I mean,
that would probably be. I mean, it's not that far off. I'm just kind of saying, like, I feel like I can get more value when it gets closer to the season or when it's in season, like in September. Mike Evans just always has those blow up games, and you just got to hope it doesn't come 1 week after he scores like 2 points. And that's kind of the issue with Mike Evans. Like there's those games where he just completely disappears. But I mean, if you really want to get him off your team, you don't want to risk anything. And that's a move you want to make. I don't hate it. Like, I mean, I'm okay making that move either way, but I hate when I feel like I can get more a little later on. And I feel like it's high percentage chance that that's the case, I usually like to hold unless it's something I'm really happy with.
Yeah, patience is absolutely not one of my virtues.
Right.
All right. So what would you think if we... Okay, who you're higher on? Jarvis Landry or Cooper Kupp?
Probably Cup, just because I'm not worried about his health right now. And I feel like he's gonna be starting, and I feel like with that offense, I mean, it's him and Woods and the tight ends. So I'm worried that if Jarvis doesn't play right away, maybe the offense gets changed, and then it's a little bit different when he comes back in and things just don't run the same. And I mean, he's going to be behind the 8 ball because if he's not playing right away, he's not practicing with the new offense and all that kind of thing. So I'm going Cup for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a good question. What would you think if it was Judy and Lamb instead of Judy and Jarvis?
Oh, I mean, then that's a whole different ball game, in my opinion, because I feel like in a couple of years, you're going to end up with probably a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2 to 3, and for a wide receiver 1. So, yeah, I'm cool with that for sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure the person. Well, you have Evans, right? So yeah, I'm not sure the other person would be happy with that trade. But yeah, you'd have to throw something else in, I think.
Yeah, we'll see how Rocky feels about it. Oh yeah, by the way, this is all Trade Addicts 3 stuff, so you're helping me out.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes. By the way, Bill is in Trade Addicts 3. Yeah. I was because I really wanted to see the look on his face if he said, "Yeah, you should totally take that," and I click accept and like, yeah, check your email. You're about to see what's about to happen. But yeah, no, I didn't. I liked the idea of it. I wasn't necessarily sold either. I was, by doing that second and the third thing, I was trying to talk myself into just hitting accept while live on a podcast kind of thing. I mean, I'm not going to do it. There's definitely stuff I could see selling Evans for in all of this. And it would just be for the hell of it, because I do also believe in Evans. Evans is awesome. I am not super worried about Brady being there. I am less worried about Brady being there since Arians came out and said we're running a lot of 12 personnel. Because if they're running a lot of 2 tight ends, that means pretty much Godwin's a little less of a worry. Let's be honest. So if they're running a lot of base package stuff, then it's more likely that Evans will be the feature piece.
Sure.
At least out of the wide receivers. And that's all he needs.
I agree.
All right, so we're going to skip off of that now because I'm staring at it too much and losing my ability to speak while I stare. So I don't really
bring up a trade I just had.
Oh, nice. Recently.
Go for it. Now that this is good radio, because I have to pull up the league. Okay, it was an offer of Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds for Melvin Gordon. I'm sorry, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, and a second for Melvin Gordon and Darius Slayton.
I don't like owning backfields. I mean, that really lessens the value of that other side for me. Man, I still have Melvin Gordon over Kenyon Drake. So to me, I would everything leads to me taking that Melvin Gordon side. I don't know if that's a bias because it goes against how I build or
sure.
Value wise, like I have to assume a lot of the world has Drake and Gordon probably kind of close. Yeah. The hype might be on Drake's side a little bit, but I would take Slayton over Edmonds in a second at this point. Which, again, that leads me value-wise. It's close enough, I'm sure. But, again, the way I value all of it puts me on the Melvin Gordon side.
Sure. So that's my side, the Drake side. I did get him to throw in his third and fourth also. But it just kind of happened. I'm not really happy with the trade. It was just one of those things. Like, my wide receivers are pretty deep. So Slayton really is like a wide receiver 6 for me. Yeah, so
I see that.
It was one of those things where it's like, I want to get a little bit of Drake. He doesn't have as much, tread on his tires. He's somebody that Gordon I've had like on a lot of my teams throughout his career, and he always seems to get hurt towards the end of the season, and that just affects you. And it's a maybe a ridiculous bias to have, but when you've been affected by it, it seeps into your brain, and it's like, I don't want to have to deal with it. I mean, it's just as likely that Drake gets hurt at the same time, but it's just one of those things that's like, yeah, you bit me in the ass a few times, so nah.
No, I mean, I've brought that up a lot, that Melvin Gordon can get you there. He won't be able to take you all the way.
Right.
A lot. Because it has happened more than once where he gets hurt at the very end of the season, no less in the actual fantasy playoffs. So it's absolutely narrative and all of that, but it's absolutely one I buy into, and I get it. But yeah, talent wise, Melvin Gordon's just so much better.
Oh, he's awesome for sure. I don't doubt that, or I don't argue that. So it was one of those that I'm just like, I had a Russ on board trade, and that was exactly what happened.
All right. I threw out on Twitter if I were to actually do this, what are some things I should talk about? And my goody best friend of Kane Fossil threw out, hey, why don't you talk about this trade I made? So let's talk about this trade he made.
All right.
I'm going to guess it's super flex. He didn't actually give me any league details, which is a little bit of shame on Kane, which almost rhymes. But the trade is Calvin Ridley, Austin Eckler, and Matt Ryan for Marlon Mack, Daniel Jones, and Michael Thomas. All right, so I'm going to start out with this one. I kind of think the quarterbacks cancel each other out. I get that Ryan's older, Jones is younger, but value-wise, I think they even get drafted around the same place. I think those two are. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if it's super flex or 1QB, because regardless, I'm scratching off the quarterbacks.
Sure.
I would not trade Michael Thomas for Eckler and Ridley. And that's me being a Ridley person.
Yeah.
So I think Marlon Mack, I think will have value. I don't think Taylor's walking in and stealing this right away. So yeah, but still, in this trade, I don't think he holds all that much. So would you trade Ridley and Eckler for Michael Thomas? And I think that's what this boils down to.
Oh, I would 100% trade Ridley and Eckler for Michael Thomas.
The other way around. I meant to say we should trade Michael Thomas for Ridley and Eckler.
No.
Right. So I think that leads us to say that the Michael Thomas side is probably the winner of this, though.
I agree with that. I mean, Marlon Mack is a sneaky asset that you just put on your bench and could end up being worth a ton by week 10. So, or nothing.
Yeah, the only way I could see this being closer to even than the way we're talking is if we're talking 14, 16 teams, or if you're starting 12 or 13 people. The more people you have to start, the bigger your league, the more two very good people matter over one stud.
Yep.
I like Eckler. I don't think a lot of people have him a lot higher than I do, and that's why I can't trade for him at all. But
I've been moving him this offseason just because people have him valued so highly. I just don't feel like he can meet where people's expectations are. I mean, you're losing a quarterback that traditionally likes to dump off to his running backs. You're getting a quarterback who traditionally doesn't like to dump off to running backs.
Yep.
So those are two big things. And he's a running quarterback. So, I mean, all of those things kind of work against you. I mean, he may end up getting a little bit more volume just because the two running backs behind him aren't exciting. But if one of them steps up.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, it's funny. Like the more hey, DAP Network mug, ffpostert.shorenvy.com. I was checking my notifications to see if anything happened recently that people want us to talk about, and Kane got the Michael Thomas side. So, hey, we both agree with you.
Yeah, good trade.
But on that note, we've been going for about a half hour. I hear some stomping going around upstairs, which means it's probably time for me to get back up. Thank you, Bill.
Awesome. Yeah, my pleasure. And happy Father's Day, brother.
Thanks. Hopefully we will do this more often. I'm going to tweet this out, throw it. I'm probably not even going to edit the space out. I'm just going to throw it onto the podcast stream, just to throw it out there. Yeah, cash, if you will. I don't think I've ever said that before in my life, but hey, it's on record now. All right. Well, happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Sunday, I guess, and we'll see you later.
All right, later.